There is an old fly called the Irresistible. It is spun deer hair with a hackle collar. There's also an old fly called the Adams. The Adams is a mayfly imitation, has a tail. Generally it has a dubbed body, and it has wings and a front hackle collar. So if you combine these two flies, then you get the Adams Irresistible. I'm tying this fly at the request of one of the men in the Missouri Trout Fishermen's Association Club where I live to add to our recipe catalog on our website. I'm going to be tying this fly with tan thread. Then I'm going to be using moose mane for the tail, deer for the body. I have just the tips of two hackle or grizzly hackles for the wings, and then the collar I have a dun hackle and a grizzly hackle that I'll combine. So I'll start by putting down a base of thread. Take the thread all the way back to the bend in the hook where I'll tie in the tail. Tail is about the length of the hook shank. I'm going to take the thread under the tail once, try to hold it up a little bit. The tricky part about this is making sure not to cut that tail when I'm cutting the deer hair, so I'll have to try to be very careful with that. Cut myself a clump of hair. I'm going to wrap or spin hair all the way up to where I'm going to tie in the wings. So I'm just cleaning the under hairs out of that clump of deer. Set that clump on top of the shank. A couple of loose wraps. And then when I pull, it wraps it. And I'm going to weave it through. Pull back on that clump of hair. Couple wraps in front. Try not to impale my thumb on the hook. Take another clump of hair. The heavier the clumps are, the fewer you need as you go forward. Couple of loose wraps. Pull and spin. Weave forward. Pull that back. Take another clump. It looks like I'm going to need probably 2 more clumps. We'll see. This is a little bit bigger clump. Couple of loose wraps. pull and it spins on, and then keep winding and get it well distributed. I'm going to pack that. I'm just using a pen that I've taken the innards out of. As I push that back on itself, I see that I have lots of shank here left, so I want to put another clump of hair. A couple of loose wraps, and spin it. Keep winding, then it gets well spun and distributed well around the whole of the shank. Yeah, that looks like it's probably going to be enough. Pack it together. Yeah, that's probably what I want there for my wings and front hackle. Bring that thread out to the front. I'm going to throw on a couple of half hitches because it's, you know, my way. I'll probably cut the thread, and that way the thread stays on. Now you can use a razor blade or scissors. I'm just going to use some scissors here and start cutting away, trying to be very careful and not take out my tail. Creating a tapered body. And I suppose you could ask me how I know that you need to be very careful not to clip out the tail. Suppose this is kind of the tedious part about this fly, but it's also what makes it float. I am tying this on a size 12 extra long. It might even be a 2X. It's just a nymph hook or a streamer nymph. Yeah, so far I haven't cut my thread or my tail. Probably do it now since I've talked about it. Ouch, that hurt. That was the hook in my finger. I feel like a barber. Let's see, let's try to get a little bit more of that on the underside too. I don't know, how does that look? Got some strays here in the back yet, but I don't know if the fish care. Maybe I care. Right here. See if I can do this without grabbing the tail. Okay, where do I have ridges? I think along here. Still have these long ones underneath here. I'm afraid to cut too much though, get the tail. Alright, I'm gonna call that good at that point. Tapered body, spun deer hair, still have the tail. Then I'm going to tie in the wings. I have two grizzly ends. Put one on each side of the shank. Oh, I guess I have to tie my thread still is. I didn't cut out the thread. How about that? All right. So, put one on each side and put their natural bends so that they're bending out. And then I can work with those a little bit, put a wrap behind them. The hackle is going to help them stand up. I want to spread a little bit, so a couple of figure eights or X wraps in here will help them do that. Maybe. There we go. Okay. For the hackle, I have this grizzly and this dun. I'm going to put their tips together. Grab the tips with a hackle plier. Pull the fibers back to find my triangle. Clip the triangle. Lay the triangle. I'm going to lay these feathers with shiny side up, concave side down. Lay the triangle between the wings, tie that in, bring it wrap behind the wings as well. Now I'll try to get those wings to stand up by wrapping the hackle behind the wings a couple of times. So we want to wrap that in front of, I'm wrapping it in front of the body, behind the wings, and then I'm going to bring the hackle in front of the wings and wrap it a couple times there. And then tie that off. You can see why I had to leave quite a bit of room in front or behind the eye, because I've got quite a bit of hackle here. Clip that out without cutting the thread or the wings. I'm going to take my tool here and push back on the hackle. Looks like I'm going to have to do a little bit of cleanup there, but wrap that. A little bit of a head. I'm going to go ahead and whip finish that, and then I can clip that out. Seems like I always grab a few of those fibers while I'm whip finishing too. Okay. All right. So that's an Adams Irresistible.